Hey warrior, let me ask you something most people are terrified to face. What if the real prison isn't your circumstances, but the illusions you keep feeding every single day? We rush through life on autopilot, scrolling, comparing, chasing approval, wasting hours we pretend we'll get back. We say we want freedom, but we cling to everything that steals it. Seneca warned us centuries ago. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And he was right. Most of our suffering comes not from reality, but from the stories we invent, the expectations we cling to, and the battles we fight inside our own mind. Today, you're going to face 7 brutal Stoic truths, the kind that hurt at first, but set you free forever. Before we go any further, anchor yourself with this affirmation. I choose truth over comfort. 1. You suffer more in imagination than in reality. The first brutal truth is simple, ancient, and merciless. Your mind hurts you far more than life ever will. Most of the pain you feel, you invented it. Most of the battles you think you're fighting never actually happened. And most of the fear that keeps you stuck exists only in the imagination. Seneca said it with surgical precision. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. He didn't write that to sound poetic. He wrote it as a warning. Because the human mind has a dangerous habit. When we don't know what's coming, we fill the silence with horror stories. Think about it. How many nights have you ruined replaying a conversation that ended hours ago? How many opportunities have you avoided because you imagined failure before you even moved? How many times have you convinced yourself someone is angry, disappointed, or judging you when none of it was true? The mind is a master storyteller and a terrible narrator. It exaggerates threats. It multiplies danger. It mixes memories with fear and serves them to you as facts. And you believe it, not because it's true, but because it feels familiar. Stoicism teaches the exact opposite approach. Deal with what is, not what your mind invents. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Your estimate, your interpretation, your mental filter, not the event. Reality is usually clean, sharp, and manageable. Imagination is messy, chaotic, and merciless. You stress about the email you haven't sent. But the email itself? It's just words on a screen. You panic about the conversation you need to have. But the conversation itself? It's just 2 humans exchanging air. Most of your fear comes from rehearsing the worst-case scenario so many times that your nervous system thinks it already happened. You're living inside a movie and forgetting that you're the one who wrote it. Let's go even deeper. Overthinking is not intelligence. It's self-torture disguised as caution. Worrying is not preparation. It's fear pretending to be responsibility. And imagining pain doesn't protect you. It only exhausts you before the real challenge even begins. So here is the Stoic reframing. Face what is real. Ignore what is imagined. When your mind spins a fear story, ask, is this a fact or a prediction? Has this actually happened? Or am I living inside a possibility? Do I have evidence or just anxiety? 9 times out of 10, you'll realize you're fighting a shadow. Now pause and breathe. Feel your shoulders drop because something powerful happens when you stop wrestling with imaginary battles. You reclaim energy, you reclaim clarity, you reclaim the ability to respond, not react. This is why Stoics were feared and respected. A mind that deals only with facts cannot be manipulated. A mind that stops projecting fear becomes steady, grounded, dangerous in the best way. A mind that stops imagining pain finally has room to live. So here's your practical Stoic challenge. Today, catch one moment where your mind invents suffering. Don't fight it. Label it. Then replace it with a question. What's actually happening right now? This is how you break the cycle, not by being fearless, but by refusing to be fooled by your own imagination. Because the truth is harsh, but liberating. Life hurts far less than your thoughts do. And once you understand that, once you master that, fear loses its throne. Power line. Clarity kills fear. Reality frees you. 2. Nobody is coming to save you. Here's the second brutal truth, and it might be the hardest one to swallow. No one is coming to save you, not your parents, not your friends, not a miracle, not the right moment, not the universe suddenly aligning in your favor. It's just you, and for the first time that should feel empowering, not lonely. We live in a world conditioned to wait. Wait for motivation, wait for clarity, wait for someone to give us permission to start, wait for the pain to stop on its own, wait for a sign that never comes. But waiting is a silent form of self-abandonment. Epictetus said it with terrifying accuracy. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because the moment you stop waiting for rescue and start taking responsibility, the world will misunderstand you. People will call you selfish, intense, obsessed, unreasonable, because you're no longer living according to their script. They want you predictable. But growth requires the opposite. Think about the times you felt stuck. Was it really because you were incapable? Or was it because you were secretly hoping someone else would push you, validate you, fix you, pull you out of the hole? Nobody is coming to lift you. The hand you're waiting for is attached to your own arm. Let's go deeper. Dependence is seductive. It makes you feel safe while quietly stealing your power. You tell yourself someone else will hold your life together, and without noticing, you hand them the blueprint to your future. You give away time, you give away potential, you give away responsibility, which means you give away freedom. Stoics understood something modern society fears. Self-reliance is the highest form of strength. Not isolation, not cold independence, but the deep, unshakable understanding that your life is built by your choices, not by someone else's rescue. Look back at your life for a moment. The moments that changed, you weren't the ones where someone saved you. They were the moments when you decided, I'm done living like this. I deserve better. I'll build my own way out. That decision, the one made in silence, without applause, that was your real turning point. Now let's expose the modern trap. People love the idea of transformation, but they hate the responsibility that comes with it. It's easier to blame circumstances, easier to wait for a lucky break, easier to say, I'll do it when life calms down. But life isn't supposed to calm down. You are supposed to level up. Stoicism cuts through the excuses. If something is within your control, act. If it isn't, let it go. Waiting is neither acting nor letting go. It is limbo, the slow death of potential. So here is the Stoic practice. Every time you catch yourself wishing for someone to step in, ask yourself one question. What can I do with what I have, from where I am? That question is a sword. It slices through helplessness. It forces clarity. It turns you from a passenger into the one holding the wheel. And if you take even one step, one messy, imperfect step, something extraordinary happens. You stop feeling powerless. Momentum replaces fear. Progress replaces fantasy. Self-respect replaces dependence. This truth is brutal, but it's also your liberation. You don't need a savior. You need a decision. You need action. You need yourself. At full power. Power line. No one is coming, but you are enough. 3. People owe you. Nothing here comes a truth that feels like a punch to the chest the first time you hear it. People owe you nothing. Not kindness, not loyalty, not consistency, not closure, not the version of themselves you imagined. And that feels brutal. until you realize it's the key to emotional freedom. Most suffering in relationships, romantic, family, friendship, work, comes from one quiet expectation buried beneath everything. They should treat me the way I treat them. No, they shouldn't, and they won't. Because people don't act according to your values. They act according to theirs. Marcus Aurelius warned us. Expecting the world to be fair to you because you are fair is like expecting a lion not to eat you because you are a vegetarian. The world doesn't adjust itself to your moral code. People don't live by your rules. Life doesn't bend around your expectations, and the more you demand fairness from a world that wasn't designed around your emotions, the more disappointed you become. Let's get honest. You expect loyalty because you're loyal. You expect honesty because you're honest. You expect effort because you give effort. You expect emotional maturity because you practice it. But the truth is clear. Your virtues are not a debt someone else must repay. You can love deeply, and they can still leave. You can give generously, and they can still forget. You can be respectful, and they can still cross lines. And none of that means you were wrong. It means they were living from their nature, not yours. Stoicism teaches something powerful. Stop expecting people to meet the standards they never agreed to. When you release the idea that someone owes you understanding, attention, loyalty, or even apology, you stop tying your emotional stability to other people's behavior. And suddenly, disappointment loses its grip. Look at your life. How many times did your heart break, not because of what someone did, but because of what you expected them to do? You expected them to stay. You expected them to try. You expected them to see your worth. You expected them to care the way you cared. Expectation is a contract you wrote that they never signed. And when you realize that, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing explanations. You stop begging for clarity. You stop trying to convince someone to value what they don't. You stop making other people responsible for your peace. Let's go deeper. People don't owe you respect, but you owe it to yourself to walk away when it's missing. People don't owe you consistency, but you owe it to yourself to protect your energy. People don't owe you love, but you owe it to yourself to stop staying where love isn't present. This is not cynicism, it's liberation. When you stop expecting, you start observing. When you stop demanding, you start discerning. When you stop hoping others will change, you start changing your boundaries. Here's the Stoic action step. Today, take one situation where you feel disappointed. Then ask yourself, did they truly fail me? Or did I expect something they were never capable of giving? This question is a blade. It cuts through emotional fog, through fantasy, through attachment. Freedom begins the moment you accept this. People are allowed to be who they are. You're allowed to leave, choose, protect, and rise. And once you stop expecting others to carry what is yours, your peace, your self-worth, your emotional regulation, you become untouchable. Power line. Expectation is a prison. Acceptance is the key. 4. You lose yourself. When you try to please everyone, here is the fourth brutal truth. Sharp, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. Every time you try to please everyone, you lose a piece of yourself, and piece by piece, you disappear. Stoicism doesn't sugarcoat this. The minute your self-worth becomes dependent on approval, validation, or applause, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. Not because you're weak, but because you forgot something essential. Your values matter more than their opinions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The approval of others is a worthless pursuit if it costs you your integrity." He didn't write that for philosophers. He wrote it for people just like you. People pulled in every direction by expectations, guilt, and the silent fear of disappointing others. Let's get painfully honest. You don't struggle because people demand too much. You struggle because you haven't learned to say no without apologizing for it. You struggle because you've confused kindness with self-erasure. You struggle because somewhere along the way, you were taught that being good means being available, agreeable, and endlessly accommodating. But here's the truth no one told you. Trying to be liked is the fastest way to become invisible. Look at your life. How many times have you said yes while your stomach said no? How many times have you overextended yourself? Time, energy, emotional labor, just to avoid disappointing someone. How many times have you silenced your needs, your opinions, your truth? Because you feared conflict more than you valued your identity. That is not generosity. That is self-abandonment dressed up as kindness. And people can feel it. When you don't value your own boundaries, the world follows your lead. When you shrink yourself to be agreeable, people stop seeing your worth. When you tolerate disrespect to keep the peace, you teach others how to treat you. You think you're being loved for who you are, but you're really being tolerated for the version of you that betrays your own voice. Stoicism offers the antidote. Live according to virtue, not validation. Virtue means truth. Virtue means courage. Virtue means integrity. Virtue means saying no without guilt, enough without anger, and this is who I am without apology. Because real peace doesn't come from pleasing everyone. It comes from finally pleasing yourself. Let's go deeper. People-pleasing is not compassion. It's fear. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being seen as difficult. But here's the twist you must understand. Every time you abandon yourself to keep someone comfortable, you teach your soul that your own needs are negotiable. You chip away at your identity. You dilute your values. You weaken your sense of self. And one day, you wake up wondering why you feel lost, empty, or disconnected. When the truth is simple. You traded authenticity for acceptance, and the cost was your freedom. So here is the Stoic shift. Stop asking, will they be upset? Start asking, will I betray myself? Stop asking, do they approve? Start asking, does this align with my values? Stop asking, what will they think? Start asking, who am I becoming? Here's your Stoic action step. Today, choose one boundary that honors your values and enforce it without giving a justification speech. No over-explaining, no softening the edge, no guilt, just truth. Because the moment you stop performing for others, you start living for yourself. And when you live in alignment with your values, something extraordinary happens. You become solid, grounded, unshakable. People don't have to like you, but they will respect you. And more importantly, you will respect yourself. Power line. When you stop pleasing others, you finally return to yourself. 5. Most of your pain comes from attachment. Here is the 5th brutal truth. The kind that doesn't just sting, it exposes everything you've been avoiding. Most of your pain doesn't come from loss. It comes from attachment. Not love, not hope, not effort. Attachment. Stoicism is clear on this. Suffering begins the moment you cling to what was never fully in your control. Epictetus captured it perfectly. When you're attached to anything, you lose your freedom. He didn't mean love is dangerous or relationships are a threat. He meant this. When your identity is tied to a person, a title, a dream, or an outcome, your emotional life is at the mercy of something you cannot govern, and nothing creates inner chaos faster than trying to control the uncontrollable. Let's be brutally honest. You weren't destroyed because someone left. You were destroyed because you clung to how you needed them to stay. You weren't shattered because the plan failed. You were shattered because you were attached to only one version of success. You weren't crushed because life changed. You were crushed because you demanded it stay the same. It's not the event that breaks you, it's the grip. Attachment is subtle, seductive, and logical at first. You tell yourself, I just want this to work. I just want them to stay. I just want this opportunity to be mine. But slowly, quietly, invisibly, the desire becomes a dependency. You don't just want it, you need it. You don't just hope for it, you cling to it. You don't just love it, you fear losing it, and fear is the price of attachment. Let's go deeper. Attachment turns people into sources of oxygen. Attachment turns outcomes into lifelines. Attachment turns setbacks into identity crises. It teaches your mind to believe, if I lose this, I lose myself. But here's the truth. You never lose yourself because something left. You lose yourself because you decided your worth was tied to it. The Stoics practiced the exact opposite. Detachment, not as coldness, but as clarity. Detachment means, I can love you deeply, but I don't need you to exist. I can pursue this dream intensely, but my worth isn't defined by its outcome. I can want the best, but I'm prepared for reality. It is emotional sovereignty. It is freedom with open eyes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny, not as a passive surrender, but as a recognition that peace comes from harmony with reality, not resistance to it." Most people suffer because they try to negotiate with life. They want certainty in a world that promises none. They want guarantees where only probabilities exist. They want permanence in a universe made of change. But clinging to permanence is like holding water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. So here's your Stoic shift. Love without clinging. Pursue without obsessing. Care without controlling. Invest without imprisoning yourself to the outcome. Here is your action step. Choose one thing you've been clinging to. A person, a hope, a timeline, a story. Write this question on paper. If this disappears tomorrow, who do I become? Not to terrify yourself, but to remind you that you are more than what you're afraid to lose. Because the moment you loosen your grip, your breathing returns. Clarity returns. Strength returns. You return. Attachment is weight. Letting go is flight. Power line. Freedom begins the moment you release what was never yours to control. 6. Discipline is a higher form of freedom. Here is the 6th brutal truth. The one most people resist because it exposes the real reason they feel lost. Freedom is not the absence of rules. Freedom is the presence of discipline. Most people think they're fighting the world. But in reality, they're fighting themselves. Their impulses, their excuses, their cravings, their emotional storms, their lack of structure. They think freedom means doing whatever I want, yet every time they follow every impulse, they end up trapped. Trapped in procrastination, trapped in bad habits, trapped in emotional spirals, trapped in a life built on reaction, not intention. Marcus Aurelius said it plainly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Power over your mind doesn't fall from the sky. It is built through discipline, repetition, routine, and the willingness to endure discomfort. Stoicism doesn't romanticize discipline. It states the truth. Without discipline, your desires own you. With discipline, you own your life. Let's strip it down. You want confidence? It comes from discipline. You want peace? It comes from discipline. You want purpose? Discipline. You want a life you're proud of? Discipline. Every dream, every transformation, every breakthrough, all of it is paid for in disciplined action. The world sells the lie that passion creates success. Stoicism counters with the truth. Discipline keeps going long after passion dies. Think about it. How many goals have you abandoned, not because you lacked talent, but because you waited to feel ready? How many times did you delay the one action that could change everything because comfort whispered, "Do it tomorrow"? How many times have you lost momentum, not because life was unfair, but because you surrendered to your impulses? The harsh truth: your life is a reflection of what you repeatedly choose to do, not what you occasionally dream about. Let's go even deeper. People fear discipline because they think it's restrictive. But look closely. Lack of discipline leads to chaos, and nothing is more suffocating than chaos. Discipline leads to structure, and nothing is more liberating than knowing you can rely on yourself. When you're disciplined, your mind is calmer, your decisions are cleaner, your path is clearer, your confidence is real, earned, not imagined. Stoicism teaches that discipline is not punishment, it is alignment, your actions matching your values. It is control, your mind directing your life, not your urges. It is self-respect, choosing what nourishes you over what numbs you. So here's the question: who has more freedom? The person enslaved by distraction, or the one who can ignore distraction? The person ruled by emotions, or the one who can master them? The person who reacts to everything, or the one who chooses their response? Freedom belongs to the disciplined, always. Here's your Stoic practice. Build 3 pillars of discipline today. A morning anchor, one non-negotiable habit that grounds you. A work ritual, a block of focused effort, no phone, no noise. An evening audit, 3 minutes to review. Did I act with discipline or impulse? Keep it simple. Keep it repeatable. Keep it sacred. Because the truth is undeniable. Your future depends on whether you train your mind or let your mind train you. Discipline is not a cage. It is the key. The key to mastery, stability, clarity, and ultimately, freedom. Power line. Discipline is the doorway to every freedom you seek. 7. Memento Mori. You are running out of time. This is the 7th brutal truth. The one everyone avoids, the one everyone fears, and the one that has the power to transform your life more than anything else. You are running out of time. Not in a dramatic, cinematic, doom-filled way, but in the only way that truly matters. Your life is happening right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when things calm down. Marcus Aurelius opened his journal each day reminding himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. He wasn't being dark. He was reminding himself to live. Modern society hides death behind convenience, entertainment, distraction. We pretend we have endless time. We act like our tomorrows are guaranteed. We say later, as if the universe owes us more chances. But later is the biggest lie you've ever believed. Let's get brutally honest. How many dreams have you postponed because you thought there'd be a better time? How many apologies have you held back because you believed the opportunity would come again? How many passions have you buried under routines, comfort, and fear, telling yourself you'd return to them one day? How many people you cared about never heard you say it? Not because you didn't want to, but because you assumed there would always be more time. But time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't pause. It doesn't bargain. It doesn't care about your plans, your fear, or your excuses. Your life is narrowing with every sunrise. And the tragedy isn't that we die. The tragedy is that most people never truly live before they do. Stoicism doesn't use death to scare you. It uses it to wake you up, to shake your soul awake from the sleepwalk of routine, to remind you that the clock is ticking whether you pay attention or not, to force you to ask the one question that can free you from procrastination forever. If I knew my time was limited, how would I live differently today? This truth burns away illusions. Suddenly, the things you avoid look cowardly. The things you postpone look foolish. The things you tolerate look unacceptable. Because death clarifies what truly matters. and what never did. You realize your fear of embarrassment is laughable. Your fear of failure is irrelevant. Your fear of judgment is meaningless. Your obsession with approval is a distraction. Your hesitation to pursue your purpose is a waste of the only life you get. Let's go deeper. Memento Mori is not about mourning. It's about awakening. When you remember you will die, you stop waiting for permission to live. You stop delaying the hard conversations. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop wasting time on people who drain your spirit. You stop betraying yourself for comfort, and you start being bold, being honest, being intentional, being alive. Here's the Stoic practice. Simple, but life-changing. Tonight, write 3 lines. If tomorrow wasn't guaranteed, what would I stop tolerating? What would I finally start doing? Who should hear from me while I still have the chance? Then choose one of those answers and act on it within 24 hours, because life doesn't wait. And if you keep postponing your destiny, you will eventually run out of later. This truth isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to set you free. Because when you live with the awareness of death, you start living with the intensity of someone who refuses to waste their existence. You become present, you become brave, you become unstoppable, not because you have time, but because you finally understand you don't. Power line. Remember you will die, and finally, start living. Truth number 7. Memento Mori. You are running out of time. This is the 7th brutal truth, the one everyone avoids, the one everyone fears, and the one that has the power to transform your life more than anything else. You're running out of time. Not in a dramatic, cinematic, doom-filled way, but in the only way that truly matters. Your life is happening right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when things calm down. Marcus Aurelius opened his journal each day, reminding himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. He wasn't being dark. He was reminding himself to live. Modern society hides death behind convenience, entertainment, distraction. We pretend we have endless time. We act like our tomorrows are guaranteed. We say later, as if the universe owes us more chances. But later is the biggest lie you've ever believed. Let's get brutally honest. How many dreams have you postponed because you thought there'd be a better time? How many apologies have you held back because you believed the opportunity would come again? How many passions have you buried under routines, comfort, and fear, telling yourself you'd return to them one day? How many people you cared about never heard you say it? Not because you didn't want to, but because you assumed there would always be more time. But time doesn't negotiate, it doesn't pause, it doesn't bargain. It doesn't care about your plans, your fear, or your excuses. Your life is narrowing with every sunrise, and the tragedy isn't that we die. The tragedy is that most people never truly live before they do. Stoicism doesn't use death to scare you. It uses it to wake you up, to shake your soul awake from the sleepwalk of routine, to remind you that the clock is ticking whether you pay attention or not, to force you to ask the one question that can free you from procrastination forever. If I knew my time was limited, how would I live differently today? This truth burns away illusions. Suddenly, the things you avoid look cowardly. The things you postpone look foolish. The things you tolerate look unacceptable, because death clarifies what truly matters and what never did. You realize your fear of embarrassment is laughable. Your fear of failure is irrelevant. Your fear of judgment is meaningless. Your obsession with approval is a distraction. Your hesitation to pursue your purpose is a waste of the only life you get. Let's go deeper. Memento Mori is not about mourning. It's about awakening. When you remember you will die, you stop waiting for permission to live. You stop delaying the hard conversations. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop wasting time on people who drain your spirit. You stop betraying yourself for comfort, and you start being bold, being honest, being intentional, being alive. Here's the Stoic practice. Simple, but life-changing. Tonight, write 3 lines. If tomorrow wasn't guaranteed, what would I stop tolerating? What would I finally start doing? Who should hear from me while I still have the chance? Then choose one of those answers and act on it within 24 hours. Because life doesn't wait, and if you keep postponing your destiny, you will eventually run out of later. This truth isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to set you free. Because when you live with the awareness of death, you start living with the intensity of someone who refuses to waste their existence. You become present, you become brave, you become unstoppable. Not because you have time, but because you finally understand you don't. Power line. Remember you will die. And finally, start living. You've just walked through 7 brutal Stoic truths, the kind most people spend their entire lives avoiding. But you didn't avoid them, you faced them, and that alone makes you different. Remember this. These truths are not meant to make life easier. They're meant to make you stronger, clearer, steadier, more awake. You suffer less when you stop imagining worst-case scenarios. You rise when you stop waiting for rescue. You free yourself when you release expectations. You return to yourself when you stop pleasing everyone. You reclaim your heart when you detach from what you can't control. You become powerful through discipline, and you start living when you remember you're running out of time. Now tell me in the comments, which truth hit you the hardest? And if this message moved you, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Before you go, anchor this in your mind one last time. I choose truth. I choose freedom every day.